Hello everybody and welcome to Zara's Story Block. My name is Zara Ariana Mundan and today I'm going to be reading for you Circus Boy, written by Miona Farinda and illustrated by Richard Hoyt. This circus boy. The crowd went crazy. The flaming Fandango swooped and did a double somersault before chanting into a Lola loop-de-loop. As she dived towards the circus ring, rocketing Rhodey and leaping Lisa swung on the ropes from the other side of the big top to join them. People shrieked and stamped on the circus bleachers. Above them were the world's most famous circus family, now balanced on the top of each other on a ladder, on top of a unicycle, on top of a triathrobe. Joe sighed. He'd seen it all before. Turning back into the ringside crowd, Joe shuffled along through the rows of seats with his tray. Popcorn, anyone want some popcorn? Inside his pocket, Dorothy, his pet mouse, nibbled on a kernel. "Get out of the way, kid," a man shouted. "No one wants popcorn while they're watching this amazing circus stars. They sure are lucky they're having such talented children." Dorothy squeaked in sympathy as Joe slunk back to his tense entrance flap. The man was right. Who'd want to buy popcorn while Joe's entire family was doing stunts? Everyone except for him. The most disappointing thing of the day is that his parents' lives had been the day they'd discovered Joe was scared of heights while his brother Roddy and his sister Lisa shimmied up to the big top poles and hung down. Watching Joe was too terrified to go any further up. The first 3 stairs in the grandstand. Joe's parents had tried to find another circus act for him to perform, but he was allergic to horsehair and a teensy bit were liked by the tigers. The ringmasters would crack and had almost a burst in his eardrum. The clown paint gave him a rash. In the end, Joe had made popcorn cellar. It was the lowest and most useless job in the entire circus. His popcorn was actually very tasty, but Joe longed to be out there in the circus ring under the spotlight with the crowd clapping and shouting. The only good thing about being Chief Popcorn was maker of that he'd found Dorothy in one of his snacks popping a corn. He had then a mouse like each other Immediately, Joe was able to tell Dorothy everything. The little mouse always squeaked at the right moments, as if she completely understood him. Taking back away popcorn, stand, Joe slipped past an animal enclosures. A powerful trunk snapped out and knocking himself on Joe's ankles, and that so that he sprawled to the ground, and the popcorn flew up in the air and scattered everywhere. Freddie the elephant trumpeted with amusement, and Swifty vacuumed up and spilled the popcorn. Joe scowled at the elephant. He was the most spoiled animal in this whole circus. Because he was so big, Freddie was cheeky to everyone, including his trainer Pedro. More and more, Pedro had been cutting back Freddie's shows. The elephant didn't want to know what he was told. The worst times were when a member of the public gave peanuts, then Freddie would literally go nuts. Joe sometimes thought that Freddie didn't like being at the circus elephant. Dusting himself off, he went back to the food stand to make more popcorn. Dorothy sat next to him to salt it, licking her paws and squeaking away, while Joe shared his dreams of the circus glory. When Joe went back to the big top, he was surprised to see Pedro bringing Freddie in for the elephant act. Freddie took his time and moved into the sand dust ring. Now he'd eaten a whole tray of popcorn. He didn't even care about the snacks. Pedro kept it in his pocket. In the front of the audience, a lady with a silly hat screeched out of her hand. Freddie's trunk whipped down and snowed up. Peanuts! Pedro was in front and couldn't see, but Joe said, "No!" shouted. It was too late. The elephant went crazy, pounding ground on the trundling in a circle. Freddie read up on the Aaron's legs. At first, people laughed and clapped, thinking it was a part of the act. But Freddie broke the way and stumbled around the ring. Pedro was white-faced. He whistled and cracked his whip, but the elephant ignored him. Freddie was out of control. He was dangerous. He could trample people. Joe raced forward without thinking. An idea came to him. He scooped Dorothy out of his pocket. "Dorothy," Joe said, "you have to help me. Freddie is out of control." Dorothy raced down his clothes and immediately scampered onto the ring right in front of Freddie. When the elephant saw the mouse, he froze. Trampling with terror, Joe called his instructions. From the ringside, Dorothy raced around the elephant like a sheepdog, rounding Freddy up. Freddy was so terrified he couldn't even avoid the mouse. Joe called Dorothy and scampered over to him, and he held her up above his head. "Sit," shouted Freddy. Sit, he shouted to Freddy. The big elephant sat just like a dog. The audience erupted into applause. People stood up and shouted and cheered and whistled and clapped until Joe finally got tired of bowing. He and Dorothy had saved everyone from the disaster. Later, when Joe and his family were sitting in their caravan eating their dinner, popcorn and hot dogs, Pedro stomped up around one of the clown's cars. He honked the horn and a water spurted out of it. "I'm retiring," he said. "I can't take the stress anymore. I'm running away from the circus. Dealing with animals is too difficult. I want to get an easier job. I like teaching in school or something." Who will do the elephant act?" wailed Rocket Roddy, leaping Lisa. But the flaminging Fandango and Lola Loop-de-Doop something just smiled across the table at their children. "How about Jungle Joe and the death of the terrifying Dory, the world's greatest elephant tamers?" Baba, that's the end. And that's the end of the story. So the summary of this book is that Joe wanted to go on the big stage, but he was afraid of heights, and also he was allergic to the horse fur, and the clown paint gave him a rash. So that's why he thought he couldn't do anything in the circus like his family. But when he controlled the big elephant to sit down, then he realized he was good at something. So that's why he also was a part of the circus with his family. And the moral of the story is that when you're scared of heights like Joe, you can always figure out something that you're good at. I hope you enjoyed my story today, and if you want to listen to more of my stories, please hit the like and subscribe button. Bye!